Hey, Florida fans, reacting live to the breaking news of Jordan Scarlett's suspension for the season opener against Michigan. Came out of nowhere, no expectation, no warning, no buzz. This was coming. Jordan Scarlett and redshirt freshman receiver Rick Wells suspended from all team activities indefinitely. The team announced it via tweet about 10 minutes ago. Stunning. This is now 10 Florida players suspended for the season opener. There was the initial 7 2 weeks ago with the misuse of school funds that came out. We've learned this is related to that. These two guys are caught up in the same thing. They will not travel with the team. There's no word when they'll be able to rejoin the team. So you're looking at the original 7 that includes star receiver Antonio Callaway, Jordan Scarlett, Rick Wells, who was injured, not going to play anyway. James Robinson was suspended last week for his marijuana citation. So just an unideal, awful start for the Gators here. Another bad look. We'll talk to Jim McElwain around 5:20 tonight, get some more details. But it's a big blow. I mean, we had just talked to Scarlett yesterday after practice, so obviously they didn't see this coming. He met with the media after practice, talked about how he wanted the team to put the game on his back against Michigan, how he was looking for a 1,000-yard season, how he thought he was going to go for 100 yards against the Wolverines. So, I mean, clearly no expectation on his part this was coming, or the team's part, or they wouldn't have made him available yesterday. Just stunning. Now, the one thing Florida has going for it is running back is their deepest position, I would say. Michael Pirine was great in flashes last year, over 400 yards as a freshman. He'll be the lead back, we presume. You have Mark Thompson, who's been hit and miss his career. Obviously, his best game was in the bowl game last year. And then you have the two highly intriguing freshmen in Malik Davis and Darius Lemons, who maybe wouldn't have played in this game, but now probably have to. So, I mean, they have players, that they have talent there. I would say it doesn't totally change the complexion of the game, but I don't want to understate Jordan Scarlett's value or ability. He had more yards after contact than any rusher in the SEC last year. This game plan, I would presume, was going to be built around him and around feeding him the ball and letting him maximize openings and get yards after contact and keep drives going. And your whole plan has to change now. I think that's the toughest part here, is that they've been preparing for this game expecting Jordan Scarlett to be a focal point of the offense, and now they're starting over. So I do think Pirine can do great things, but it's a change at the last minute for a really big game. So any questions or comments, we'll get through them. Wish Jared Davis was still here. Adam says, you have to look at this as a absence of leadership on this team. Clearly there's not that guy commanding the rest of the roster to get in line and prioritize what's important. And these are stupid off-the-field mistakes. These are things you just don't do when you have the stakes that these guys have. Not only the first game against Michigan, but this is another mark against guys who hope to be drafted after this season and who are going to be evaluated on their on-the-field play, but their off-the-field decision-making. Jason, who do you hold accountable? I don't know. I don't know the origin of that whole misuse of school funds thing. People want to pin Callaway as the ringleader of the group. I just don't know. I just don't know. Who started that, whose idea it was, and where it came from. Is there any leadership on this team? I mean, I think there is in position groups, but clearly not enough, or this stuff wouldn't happen. I mean, you have to understand the bigger goal here, and just know that every stupid mistake off the field can set the team back, like it's clearly doing right now. Micah, no, I don't think they had any knowledge, because trust me, if they knew that this was possible, there's no way that they let Jordan Scarlett speak to us yesterday. And there's no way Scarlett speaks about rushing for 100 yards against Michigan yesterday. So this, I don't know what came up today, but this is clearly a breakthrough or a revelation that happened today. Mike says, what about Malik? Yeah, Malik Davis, we've heard a lot about him this preseason. He had 3 touchdowns in the first scrimmage, set record numbers in high school, has really impressed the coaches with how he's come along, and also how he played off the ball and blocking and everything. I think he's probably your third guy now. I think just because of experience, they lean on Mark Thompson more than they expected to. Obviously, Thompson's a guy who's been in the doghouse at times, has been up and down. But I think now he has to be that number 2 guy just because he's been out there and played in big games. But I think you're going to see some Malik Davis, maybe some Davis and Adarius Lemons. I'm not trying to avoid you, Black T. The question's coming pretty fast here. What was your question? Send it here. P. Ryan's stats last year, it was like 420 yards, about 4.6 yards a carry. He had some impressive runs. Remember the game against LSU? He basically carried like 5 defenders with him for an extra 10 yards. He was very impressive. Most of his time last year came late in games. He broke off some long runs late in games. Now he's going to be out there for most of the game and be the featured guy. Chino, yeah, Rick Wells, he's injured, so he wasn't going to play at all. So that's not relevant to this game. It's just another name to add to the list. Nick's not convinced with P. Ryan. I am convinced with P. Ryan. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's a very talented rusher who maximized his opportunities last year and is going to do even more this year. Obviously, didn't expect him to be the lead guy, but I'm not too worried about him stepping in there. But he's not Jordan Scarlett. I mean, Scarlett led the SEC in yards after contact last year. Led the SEC. He was among the best backs in the league overall and was the guy they were going to build this whole offense around. So it's a big deal losing him, even though they have depth. Lindsey, yeah, I mean, at this point, who knows who was involved and if there's any more coming out. We'll pepper McElwain with questions tonight. I'm sure he won't tell us anything. But we'll ask all the questions and see what he says. Brandon, Scarlett is one of the last guys I would expect to go through this. In fact, yesterday, as we talked to him, we asked him if he had given James Robinson any advice about his suspension and talking to him, and he said, yeah, I told him he's got to do the right thing and stay out of trouble. And he was talking about being a mentor to James Robinson. Now here he is getting suspended. David, yeah, I'm with you. I'm baffled. I'm stunned. I'm not sure that there's many other names that would have surprised me more than to see Jordan Scarlett on that announcement today. Richie, what should be done about the lack of focus? I think McElwain's doing it. I don't think he had a choice. 2 weeks ago when he suspended Callaway, who had been in numerous off-the-field things, but I think this is a bold move again to suspend his leading rusher days before the game. I hadn't seen any reports coming out, so it's not like anyone was pressuring him to address the situation. I think he got in front of it this time, and I think it's the strongest statement you can make is to suspend your star players and set the example at the top. Brandon, yeah, I think P. Ryan, Thompson, and a combination of Davis and Lemons, or maybe just one of those guys. I think they're going to ride P. Ryan as long as possible. I think he's capable of 20-plus carries. I think Mark Thompson was probably going to have a small role in this game, but now because he is an experienced guy who has played, I think he has a bigger role. And I think you're going to see Davis as the first of those freshmen on the field. Bruce, I hear what you're saying, man. It's just surreal that we were talking to him yesterday about the lessons he's learned from his mistakes and mentoring James Robinson, and then all of a sudden he's part of this all of a sudden now. James, the QB play is definitely pretty key now. It's funny. I had just finished writing a 1,000-word feature on Jordan Scarlett, talking about how all the focus is on the quarterbacks, but really the most important offensive player is no secret at all. It's Jordan Scarlett. I had just posted that story a minute or two before this announcement came out, and now he's gone. So, yes, I think you can ask a lot from Michael P. Ryan, but the quarterbacks are suddenly even more important. You're going to have to get more out of that position. You can't just trust that your sophomore running back is going to be able to carry this team. You're going to have to make plays in the passing game, be creative with your guys like Dre Massey and Kadarius Toney. Take advantage of all your weapons. Richard, yeah, the O-line is key. I mean, that was kind of the matchup that was the most pivotal for this game, given Michigan's strong defensive front. Even more key now because you don't have a guy who's played 2 full seasons, who everyone was talking about in Scarlett that he was smarter, he's seeing lanes better, he's making cuts better, stuff that you learn over time. I mean, P. Ryan has natural talent, but he doesn't have the experience or the lessons that Scarlett has learned over the years. Who is the most important offensive player now? Whoever that quarterback is, which we also don't know. So whoever that guy is, or whichever guys combine for that, they're going to have to make plays. A lot more pressure on those quarterbacks now. Adam says, "Be fine at running back." What's the word on Franks? Listen, I love Frank's upside. I think that I would understand some hesitancy in throwing him out there for his first college game against that defensive front on that stage. That's why I've kind of been leaning towards the guess that Luke Del Rio and Malik Zaire will kind of combine for that job this week, but that Franks could compete for it for week 2 and the rest of the season. But it's all guesswork at this time. I mean, no one knows. We've peppered every player on the team this week, and they seem to sincerely say that they haven't been told who the quarterback's going to be. I think Franks' long-term upside is huge. I don't know that you necessarily want him making his first college appearance against one of the best pass rushers in the country in Rashawn Gary and a pretty stout defensive line with 100,000 fans watching and a national TV audience. Scarlett, we don't know what exactly he did, but we know this is related to the 7 players who were suspended 2 weeks ago for the misuse of school funds, where it was reported that there was a school-issued card that was used to buy electronics, and that some of the players reportedly then reported the card stolen. But we don't know who did what, who was involved in every detail of that, who started it. There's a lot of questions we don't know. But, yeah. Daniel, it's 10, actually. It was the original 7. James Robinson joined the list this week with his suspension for the marijuana citation, and then Scarlett and Wells. So that's 10. Questions are coming in fast, so I know I missed some, but I'm happy to answer them if you send them in again. Gary says, "What is the key to winning Saturday?" I mean, you're gonna need your defense to make it a low-scoring game, and there's still questions about this defense. I mean, this is a defense that lost 8 guys to the NFL, that has a pretty much rebuilt secondary, young linebackers. So I think they're going to have to make a statement early on that they can again lead this team, and you're going to have probably more out of the quarterbacks than I expected. I thought they would lean on Jordan Scarlett this game, make him the focal point. I don't think that you can ask P. Ryan to do everything Scarlett was going to do. So I think you need more from the QBs. You need a creative game plan. Okay, you have no shortage of playmakers. Okay, you have Tyree Cleveland on the outside. You have some other young receivers who can make plays. You have these jack-of-all-trade guys like Dre Massey and Kadarius Toney, who you can use in creative packages as slot receivers on jet sweeps. You're going to have to use all your pieces creatively to make up for the loss now of your top 2 playmakers in Jordan Scarlett and Antonio Callaway. Sean, no, this is not going to have any long-term effect on McElwain. I mean, every program goes through this. I mean, think of the programs out there that have dealt with far more serious issues than this. I mean, it's not good. It's not a good look. It's stupid decision making. It's hurting the team. But he's done what he had to do. He's come out and publicly suspended the guys and taken strong action. So this will not affect him long term. And when there's a lot of murkiness about the background on these on this misuse of school funds and then the cards. All I know is what's been reported out there. I don't have any inside details on that. Jeremy, could Rick Wells transfer? Yeah, I think he was already being looked at as a possible transfer guy. Injuries and have kind of derailed his first year and a half with the program, and they are recruiting more and more talent behind him. There's no spot guaranteed for him when he gets healthy, and now this isn't going to help. So I think he's definitely a transfer candidate, but I haven't heard anything specifically. Brandon, no, it is a big deal. I don't know that it's – I don't know how to term it. I don't know if I would call it credit card scam. I think that's a little nuanced. But whatever it is, it's definitely a big deal. Not downplaying it, but I don't think this is going to spell any kind of long-term effect for McElwain and his standing as the coach of this program. Sean, yeah, I agree with you, but that's partly on him. That's partly on him. I mean, you have to recruit guys who you can trust on and off the field and stay on top of them. And while you can't police them at all times, you do take some culpability when this is a recurring trend. Yeah, it's indefinite suspension right now. We don't know So the guys who have been out for 2 weeks have not returned to practice yet. We don't know when they will. It hasn't been stated clearly that, yes, after this Michigan game, they're definitely back. We don't know that. And now we don't know with Scarlett. If this is a one game, if it's more than one game, it's at least this game. Do the two freshman running backs play now? I think at least one does. I think probably both do, but I think Malik Davis definitely does. He's the guy to watch. Well, we don't know who the quarterback is yet. Trust me, we're all asking. The players claim they don't know. They've all said that they haven't been told anything yet. So I think they're keeping it close to the vest because normally I think that the coaching gamesmanship stuff is overblown and unnecessary. In this case, they have three very distinctly different quarterbacks who all pose different looks. So I do see the advantage for McElwain in not announcing anything and keep Michigan guessing. I think there is a little bit of an edge that could be gained there. Mark, I understand where you're coming from, too. Listen, there's responsibility on the coaches and certainly personal responsibility on these guys to learn from mistakes and not make off-the-field blunders like this. There's blame all around, but I don't think that this is a long-term black eye on McElwain. Why not reveal the quarterback? Yeah, as I just said, I think in this case, so you have a guy in Malik Zaire. If Zaire's the guy, you're getting – you have the whole running element added in. You have the bootlegs, the read option stuff. If you have Felipe Frankston there, maybe they test the deep ball a little bit more against Michigan's young secondary. If you have Luke Del Rio, maybe you're getting more of a conservative game plan where he knows the offense and keep things moving and take his shots here and there. So for Michigan, that's three very different looks to possibly prepare for, and I think there is an advantage to withholding that information right now. As much as I and all you want to know who the quarterback is. Score prediction, Blake. That's I had one before this. You know, I have been picking Florida to win a close game here. I'm going to say this changes things by a few points. I'm not ready to make a score prediction. I mean, this just happened. I'm still thinking about it, but this definitely changes the vision I had for this game. Brandon, if Franks doesn't start, do you think he will transfer? No. I think his long-term upside and future is still very much strong here. And again, I don't know that this is the best game to throw him out in. I mean, maybe he doesn't play this game, but he competes and wins the starting job next week in more of a cupcake opponent and goes out and builds some confidence. They spent the whole spring and offseason building up his confidence. I don't know that you want to risk throwing him out against one of the better defensive lines you're going to face in one of the most pressure-packed environments you're going to see with how much has been built into this game. And then if he struggles early and you pull him out, that just is going to totally set you back for everything you build up with him through this offseason. So whether he plays or not this game, I don't think is any statement on his long-term prospects or potential here. Kevin, so Scarlett and Wells are connected to the 7 players who were suspended 2 weeks ago for the reported misuse of school funds that we don't have all the details of, but essentially that they had a card with school-issued money on it that they used to buy electronics, and reportedly some of the guys reported the card stolen after they used it to buy the electronics. We don't know who did what, if everyone did the same thing. So I don't want to get into assigning specific culpability to guys. I don't know what happened exactly, but that's the gist of it. Does Matt Corral redshirt as a 5-star? Maybe. I think if Frank seizes the reins this season and starts, more than half the games and establishes that spot, then yeah, I think you redshirt Corral and buy an extra year and ride Franks for a while. Is Trask transferring? I mean, I haven't heard anything, but it would make sense. I think he's been passed over here. I don't see a path to playing time for him. I mean, he's definitely number 4 this year. And then you have Corral coming in. You still have Jake Allen, who's a freshman this year. I don't know how Kyle Trask gets on the field here, so would not surprise me. Will the next man up mentality register even more with the guys now? I mean, it's going to have to. I don't think that the team's going to go into a hole because this happened, but the fact is you're now down your 2 best playmakers in Callaway and Scarlett. I mean, that's reality. Your 2 best offensive playmakers are not playing in one of the biggest games of the season. So while you have depth, while you have guys behind them that can step up, There's a reason that they were in those positions they were, and that they were the stars, and they're not here. So you can't say there's not going to be a drop-off. There will be a drop-off. We'll find out how severe it is. Chris, do I think they still have a shot to beat Michigan? Yeah, I do, and because I think Michigan has so many questions themselves. I mean, people view Michigan in the scope of what they did the last few years, where they've been very good and very consistent, but they lost all but 4 starters. They have 1 starter back on defense, a linebacker. The rest of their defense is entirely new. Their secondary is entirely new, has never started a game. You know, they have those major hype guys on the D-line, and Rashawn Gary and Maurice Hurst, but they aren't starters before. I mean, there's still a lot for them to prove. And they lost 3/5 of their offensive line. They weren't an offensive juggernaut before last year. So, yeah, I think Michigan is not a known entity yet, and they have plenty to prove. So Florida could still win this game, of course. It's just going to be tougher. It's going to be tougher without all your weapons. Andrew, listen, I'm not saying Trask can't play. I'm just saying that he lost the spring battle and he's down the depth chart, and it's going to be very hard for him to climb back up to the point where he has a chance to get on the field here. Michael, yeah, I mean, I hope there's not any more either. It's always a jolt to my workday when these announcements come out. Again, I had just finished writing a 1,000-word feature on Jordan Scarlett about how big of a season he was going to have and how he wanted to go for 100 yards against Michigan. And it's just surreal that less than 24 hours after talking to him and him saying all those comments, and now we're standing here talking about him not playing. So it is what it is. Philip, we've covered this. You're going to see Michael Pirine, the sophomore, probably as the featured back. He played a lot last year, had 400 rushing yards, averaged 4.6 a carry. He's a very capable playmaker, but he's not the experienced and proven presence that Scarlett is. I mean, again, Scarlett led the SEC in yards after contact. His vision, by all accounts, was as good as it's been, and he was seeing cutback lanes he hadn't seen before. Pirine doesn't have that breadth of experience, but he has talent. He's your guy. I think Mark Thompson, who initially I would have said was probably not a big part of the game plan, is now your number 2, only because he has experience. I mean, Malik Davis and Darius Lemons have a lot of upside and a lot of potential. They've never played at the college level. That's a factor. Mark Thompson has. He's been very up and down. Trust me. I would not say that his career has gone smoothly at all, but he has played in big games. He has made some big plays. Remember the Outback Bowl last year? He had the long catch-and-run touchdown. So he's probably in line for a bigger role than you expected. And then I think Malik Davis is your third running back. Myron says, how much drop-off do I expect on the defense? Some. That's the big question. They have to make sure it's a little drop-off, not a lot of drop-off. I think at every spot there is potential. I think the defensive line has all the pieces. I think in Jabari Zuniga and C.C. Jefferson, you have 2 defensive ends that could really turn in career years. I think Taven Bryan, much has been made about his potential. I think he is physically capable of filling Caleb Brantley's shoes, but he has to prove it. At linebacker, you have a young core, but you have to like David Reese and Voshawn Joseph, Kylan Johnson, Jeremiah Moon, but there's no depth behind them. So if those guys stay healthy and play well, I can see it really working out. If they get hurt, that's a position of concern. In the secondary, Duke Dawson has to have a great year. I mean, he's the key to that secondary. He has to be the steadying presence. Marco Wilson's going to start as a true freshman. There's going to be some growing pains. You have to expect that. Chauncey Gardner, I think, is going to be a star for this defense at the safety. Nick Washington, if his shoulders hold up, is a veteran presence. So I could see this defense being very good, but I think you have to expect just at least some drop-off from last year, but hopefully not more than that. What's the wide receiver core look like for the game? You're going to see Tyree Cleveland and Josh Hammond as the starters on the outside. They list Brandon Powell as a starter in the slot, but I do expect to see a lot of Dre Massey. I'm curious to see how much Kadarius Toney we see. Again, remember, he's a true freshman who was a quarterback in the spring, so he's still learning that receiver position. He was a quarterback in high school and a quarterback in the spring. I don't know how much they can throw at him right away. I think as the season goes on, you'll see more of Kadarius Toney, but I do think Dre Massey is going to be hugely involved. Remember, this is a guy that we spent all last summer hyping up. He tears his ACL on the opening kickoff. I think that potential is still there for him. So I think he's the guy you're going to see a lot of this weekend. Brandon, we will talk to Mac tonight. I think it's at 5:20, so we'll ask him every question. We'll see what he says. I don't expect many answers, as usual, but we'll ask the questions. Tony might get a look at running back. You don't know. He's a versatile guy. That wouldn't surprise me. And Mike says, which loss hurts more, Callaway or Scarlett? I think Scarlett, only because he was going to touch the ball a lot more. What you lose with Callaway is those maybe one or two potential game-changing plays he's capable of making that you might not have now. But you still have guys in Cleveland and Hammond and Swain that can step up and make plays and fill the gap. While you have running backs that can fill in for Scarlett, you don't have a true bell cow that you had, and a guy that proved last year that he can be a game-changing force at running back. So I think he's the bigger loss. Jason, Tyler, will Lemons get some touches? I think Malik Davis is ahead of Lemons on the depth chart, so we'll see if they need both of the freshmen. I would think Malik Davis gets the first crack, though, among those two guys. Yeah, Anthony, I mean, Michigan only has 5 guys back and 1 guy on defense. So like I said, they have a ton to prove here. This is not like you're facing a seasoned Michigan crew who's in the national championship hunt. They may well be over time, but they have as many questions as Florida does. So I don't think that Florida is now not able to beat them. I think that it's very much a game still, but this definitely hurts. Brandon says, what about the tight ends? You're going to have Goolsby and Lewis there. Kamari Gamble, who's a guy that the freshman I really am high on long term. He's been in a walking boot. I don't think he'll play, but you have 2 experienced guys there in Goolsby and Lewis. And, I thought that was the most underutilized position group last year. I think they could have gotten a lot more out of those guys. And if they want to be more creative and diverse on offense, they need to take advantage of those playmakers. Chris says our chances of winning from 45 to 20%. I think they had a better chance of 45% to start, and I think they still do. I think it's very much a toss-up game. It's 50-50 to me totally, even now after Scarlett. QB, we don't know yet. We're asking. Big boy in the suspensions, who knows? We thought it was 2 weeks ago. We thought it was last week. Who knows? It needs to be. Chad, no score prediction yet. We'll bring you that from the game from Dallas on Saturday. I need to think about it a little bit more. I do expect a low-scoring game, especially now. I think both teams are going to be under 20 or right around 20. Can we suspend the white helmets? No. Do I think Daquan Green will play? I think eventually he'll play this season. I don't think he plays a lot Saturday. I think he's still a freshman. He definitely impressed in camp. He definitely earned a spot on that depth chart. But I think in a game like this against a team like Michigan, they're going to lean on their veterans as much as possible. Sharvin, does Malik Davis start behind Pirine? I really think Mark Thompson's going to be your number 2 just because of the experience factor, but I do expect Malik to play in this game. Ricky, we covered this. I think Scarlett is the bigger loss because I think they were going to build this game plan around him. I think he was going to carry the ball 20, 25 times and be the focal point, and now you have to really reevaluate that game plan. Aquaberry, special teams will play a part always. They have a real edge there. Michigan has a freshman or redshirt freshman kicker and has not named a punter yet. So Florida with Eddie Pinheiro and Johnny Townsend has a clear advantage in special teams, and it's not anything to overlook. I think that's an advantage in this game. I think they have a real field position advantage that will come into play. Zaire will not play running back. No, that's not going to happen. But you will see him out there in packages, I'm sure. If he's not the starter, he will be in that game for stretches. I think we covered it all. Me and Jordan will come back to you after McElwain's press conference, after we have a few more answers. Mike, is everyone back from Northern Colorado? We don't know. These are technically indefinite suspensions. There's been no set announcement that they end after this Michigan game. Before, McElwain said it depends on when the guys make retribution for their mistakes. So there's a lot of gray area there still. Does the loss of Scarlett change who the starting quarterback will be? No, I don't think so. I think that's something you evaluate independently, and there was a reason. Whatever McElwain's plan is, there's a reason for it, and I think he's going to stick with that. You just maybe need a little bit more out of that guy and can't lean on the rushing game as much as you hope to. Score prediction, I got to think about it more. It's only Wednesday. I think both teams are at 20 points or below, and I think it's a 3-point game. But whereas I was picking Florida as of last week, I got to think more on that now before I commit to that. Bryant need Thompson not to fumble. Yeah, that's always a concern with him. That's the reason why he hasn't really realized the hype potential he came here with as a JUCO transfer. So, John, I think you were going to see Malik Zaire out there regardless, whether he starts or not in packages. So I don't think it changes that. I think Michael P. Ryan is a very capable running back. He's just not the experienced, proven 20-carry-a-game guy that Jordan Scarlett is. So we'll end it here. Thank you so much for the questions and the time. Like I said, me and Jordan will come back probably around 6 o'clock and chat some more after we talk to McElwain. I'm not sure we'll have any more insight at that point, but we'll tell you what he said and answer more questions. Thanks, guys.